But now she took another, more measuring look at Sophie. In the end, something, either in Sophie's expression or in her grandfather's final words, overcame the headmistress's doubts. Sophie was sure it was the money. She didn't blame Mrs. Upton. In fact, she hoped the woman extorted an enormous price. Makepeace would pay anything to be rid of her, as she had learned quite explicitly in the 3 weeks since she'd been left in his care, and she hated him enough to savour him being rooked for every farthing. 30%, my lord, said the headmistress. For a 30% premium on our usual tuition, I believe I can make room for her. Done. Makepeace reached for his walking stick and heaved himself out of his chair. Her trunk is outside. Would you care to see the grounds? No. The Viscount led the way to the carriage, where Sophie's small trunk had already been removed from the boot and left on the gravel drive. Makepeace yanked on his gloves, his thick white brows bristling in a ferocious scowl. I'll pay the tuition until you're of age, he growled at Sophie. Not a moment longer. You best try to learn something of value here, for you shan't be my responsibility. I never asked to be. She raised her chin and met his stare. Goodbye. He stared at her a moment before giving a contemptuous sniff. A proud little thing, are you? You've no grounds for it. If you didn't bear my name, you'd be as insignificant as your mother. The Viscount climbed into his carriage and snarled at his coachman to go. The carriage started with a jerk immediately. At no moment did Lord Makepeace look back. Let me show you to your dormitory, Miss Graham, Mrs. Upton said in the awkward silence. The pity in her voice was faint, but detectable. Sophie had heard that before, but this time she also heard sympathy. I'm certain your grandfather will relent once he sees how diligently you work to become accomplished. He won't. Nothing I ever do will please him, and I'm glad he's gone. She watched the carriage pass through the tall iron gates to be certain that he was in fact gone. I wouldn't mind if he were waylaid by highwaymen and shot. She turned her forthright gaze on the shocked headmistress. Thank you for accepting me, ma'am. I promise to be a very good student. And she dropped a flawless curtsy worthy of the finest ballerina in Moscow. Indeed, that was who had taught her. Mrs. Upton took her inside and sent a teacher to fetch Miss Eliza Cross and Lady Georgiana Lucas. You shall share their room this term, she told Sophie. They are both kind and well-mannered young ladies. Are they my age, ma'am? This interested her intensely. She had rarely had the chance to make friends with girls her own age. They are both in the 2nd form. The girls your age are generally in the 4th form, but since I've had no opportunity to assess your education thus far, it's best if you begin there. She gave Sophie an uncertain glance. I presume you've had some education, Miss Graham? Yes, ma'am. It stung to be placed in the lower form, but Sophie refrained from informing the headmistress that she spoke fluent French and some Italian, that she loved math and geography, that she knew how to dance and had been playing the pianoforte since she was 4. She intended to win over everyone at this academy, and it wouldn't hurt to hold some pleasant surprises in reserve. Lady Georgiana arrived first, as tall as Sophie, but fair and fine-boned. Miss Cross hurried in after her, breathless and a little flustered. She was shorter and plumper than Lady Georgiana, and every bit as ordinary in features as Lady Georgiana was beautiful. Sophie smiled at them both. It is my great pleasure to make your acquaintances, she said to the 2 other girls. I hope we'll be friends. Miss Cross smiled nervously, and Lady Georgiana gave her an appraising look, as if to say, we'll see. Sophie didn't mind. She would be circumspect in the other girls' place too. But Sophie had inherited her father's charm and her mother's drive, and so she set about befriending them. She needed to. Under no circumstances was she going back to Makepeace Manor, where her grandfather ruled in surly silence. Her youth had been spent in the capitals of Europe, following her operatic mother's career. Her parents' deaths had upended that happy, if unsettled life, leaving her at the mercy of a grandfather who seemed determined to hold her accountable for every sin and